Peace and blessings, everyone. This is a video response to Protein's View video entitled Optimism at the Expense of Truth. Optimism at the expense of truth is the world that we live in, I think. And I say I think because if the example you gave of being stranded is in actuality an example of being optimistic at the expense of truth, and added to the fact I believe that it is an accurate example of how this world operates, then it would mean that this world thus operates in a manner of being optimistic at the expense of truth. And I encounter this regularly. You don't know who I am. You don't know the videos I make speaking to Protein View, but my subscribers know I always bring forth truth. I always seek to speak truth. But most people don't want to hear truth. And I don't know if it's necessarily because they're trying to be optimistic in face of truth, even if the truth is contradictory to what they're being optimistic about. So in actuality, maybe optimism at the expense of truth is fear. When I tell people, when I speak out against capitalism and money, and I say, let's look at the truth of the conditions of this world. We have been working under capitalism in this world, the majority of this world. Of course, we have pockets of, socialism and communism, things of that nature, but we have been working under capitalism for how many centuries? And yet, there are still people suffering, still people dying because of lack of money. So the truth is, there's one person, one child that is dying because of lack of access to money. So to me, that means that this system is flawed. Now, people yell all day, well, what else are we going to do? Well, then that's going to socialism. So they start throwing out these other terms. Well, then there's going to be socialism. That's going to be communism. Like those are the things, those are the only viable options. And those options are evil or bad for whatever reason. Even though, most of it I think is, is propaganda. Because if you look at them by what those terms mean, and what it's supposed to represent and taking care of the people, I think really what happens is they fall back on the examples in history of those countries that have tried it and failed, which may not mean that those systems are flawed. It could mean because of the majority of the world being of a different type of system, then that system that is in a minority dies off because it's not getting fed. So it's not necessarily that's a bad thing or it's flawed, but it can't support itself because nobody else supports it, so it dies off. Like I said, so they say that, but it's not like they say it they're saying it because they're optimistic that, well, eventually things will get better. We're going to stay in a capitalistic world and things will get better eventually. It doesn't seem like they're necessarily saying that. It seems more apt that it's fear. Well, what else we going to do? What are we going to do then? If we don't have money, then nobody's going to work. Nobody's going to want to do anything. We're going to regress. We're going to go back to the caveman areas. And these are things that people have said to me. Everybody's going to die off and go to hell and all this other stuff. So it seems sort of like fear. Whereas I'm saying, I believe that the truth speaks to what money does, and that we should be optimistic and moving forward. So I think maybe at the best, me speaking truth of issues, maybe, like I said, maybe at least I'm doing what you said in what'd you say? What'd you call it? The clutchology. That maybe I'm just truth brings things to a balance. It takes it from a negative, brings it to a 0 point, a balance. Right? And so then I'm saying from that point, we move forward in faith. Right? We adopt a belief, a supreme belief, a quality of belief that we can move forward in a certain manner, that things can be considerably better than they are now. We move forward in faith from that point of 0. And if along that path, in truth, we see that it's not working, that truth brings it up to 0 again, and then we readjust and we move forward in a different type of manner. But then we have to at least do that. We have to constantly analyze things with truth, seek the truth, adjust, move forward in belief. And we have to move forward in belief where at the point that we have faced the truth, but we don't have the truth about what's going to happen once we move forward, we can postulate. Well, that's when we move forward in faith, because it's a belief. We adopt a belief because of having the truth of what might happen. But maybe the truth levels things off. Maybe that's the best that I do when I make these videos. I just I level it off and bring to a 0 point, and then I say let's move forward from there. Because I know and this is something I've questioned by myself, that I bring forward, my ideas, my beliefs, and truth, and maybe I'm not showing what needs to be done, but at the same point, I think within itself, I am giving a solution. I believe the solution is truth, but I think that's enough for people. That's not enough to bring them in, because they don't see that as being enough of a guiding force. That's not enough to tell them exactly what they're supposed to do. Well, where do I go from there? I got the truth. Truth is an abstract, so what do I do? I'm lost. But I think it levels off. And that's what I said, we have to bring in a belief, move forward in faith, and have the unconditional love. Right. And then, real quick, how much time? I want to go to 10 minute mark on this video. Okay, it's pretty ironic. It's actually sort of example of me and my wife a couple years ago. I wanted to sell our house. We live here in Southern California. I wanted to sell a house, 2 summers ago. Because I was telling her, we need a sale. The housing market is about to get real ugly. We need a sale. I want to move out of here. I want to move to Atlanta. And she was going on something. It turned out later because she was afraid, because we was going through some things, and she was afraid that I was going to sell the house, and then basically I was just going to take off and she's going to be stuck, which made no sense, her and the kids. But I told her, I said, I think things are going to get bad. We should sell and wait a few years and see what happens. And she went on this thing as well. If you gonna believe things are gonna be all right, eventually, the one we just stay here and just wait for things to work out. I said, well, it doesn't work that way. I believe I'm being shown. I believe we always are being guided. I feel that the best thing for us to do is to sell, get the money out of the house and sell. We get the most value right now because the market's still at its high point. Get the most value out of the house now. Wait for things to settle. I think things with the housing is going to drop, and then we can come back in and buy another house. And so basically, she was being like those people there on the island. She wanted to go ahead. She was saying it's best to eat her food, be optimistic, think things are going to work all right by eating the food, when my intuition is saying that we should eat the food. But she's saying, well, eat the food and still stay positive. I'm saying, no, we should not eat the food and be positive that we're going to be saved. But I'm being told not to eat the food, but eventually we'll be all right. So I hope you get that. Hope it makes sense. God bless everyone. Peace and love.